Hello, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike, and this is AM Japan.
Okay, so on this episode of the podcast, we want to talk about the coronavirus situation again here in Japan. And we also want to give 5 tips for what to do while quarantined at home. And that can be wherever you are in the world.
That's right.
So,
And since this is no longer our first episode, we're on to our second episode ever. Might as well upgrade already, right? I got a new mic. You got a new mic. What'd you get?
well, I'm using the Rode Video Mic Pro. I've been using that for YouTube videos. What about yourself, Mike?
I'm on the Marantz 1000, right?
Oh, nice. So we've got professional audio gear. Now all we need is some kind of professional host.
First topic, number one, obviously, everyone's discussed this to the end of the world, but coronavirus, COVID-19, we're in Japan. Japan is just really hitting its roughest point yet. What have you heard so far?
Okay, so if you haven't listened to the first podcast, go and have a listen to that, and you'll see where we were a few weeks ago. But since the last podcast, Abe, the Prime Minister, has declared a state of emergency for all of Japan. So that's all of the prefectures across Japan, where it was limited to only a smaller number early on, like Tokyo and Osaka and that. The number of dead, unfortunately, has risen to around 295. That's as of today.
Yep.
That's the 23rd of April we're recording this. And with around 10,500 active cases. However, testing has increased in the time since we last recorded.
Marginally, though.
Yeah, but it has actually increased. They weren't doing so well before, but they're getting better. Not as good as other places, but it's still getting better. And thankfully that the number of new cases per day has fallen from the peak of 700 a week or so ago down to around the mid 300s. Of course, Tokyo being the hardest hit there.
Right.
So what about the stores and things, Mike?
Stores are open. Everything, I mean, I was just outside. Everything's running as usual, There's only a few prefectures that are kind of going into lockdown and stores are shutting. I have noticed that pachinko parlors as well, they're getting the hint and they're closing. But most other stores are staying open.
Oh, okay. I've actually been working from home and, trying to follow the quarantine as much as I can because being here in Osaka, that was one of the early ones. Mm-hmm. So around your area, are most of the stores open, are they?
They are. Home centers are open. A lot of restaurants are open. But McDonald's has closed its eat-in areas. I don't know if you've driven past the McDonald's recently, but I think their eat-in is closed. They are doing delivery and takeout.
Yeah, they. I haven't been really going anywhere unless it's necessary, like the supermarket, the drugstore, or of course Costco. This is all just to buy necessary things. So I haven't been
Basic
out to
necessities.
Check. Or Costco is, yes. I need to buy a gazebo.
Pounds, yes.
Or a TV. Hey, a TV's necessity in this time, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I haven't had a look at McDonald's, but I did see on the news that McDonald's was closing those eating areas here in Osaka, and they were doing delivery before, but I think now they've expanded that a little bit. By the way, the delivery, they have options now. So we ordered some delivery the other day from another place, and they have options to have it delivered at your front door without actually making contact with the person. So if you pay by credit card beforehand,
right,
before the delivery, they'll ring the doorbell and then they'll just leave it there and go.
Awesome. As long as they ring the doorbell, right? You don't want to be, opening the door half an hour later and finding your cold chicken nuggets there.
Well, thankfully this is Japan, so there is quite a high level of service there. So yeah, that's that I thought that was a really great service, and it's not just for the customer. It's for the staff because, these staff aren't,
right,
they're paid $10 an hour or so for delivery, which
right,
is always a positive thing.
Speaking of delivery, it's not only McDonald's, but you've got, Yamato, Sagawa, all the other delivery companies that are also going to that, ringing the doorbell, signing on your behalf, and then leaving your product at the front door. In many cases, I don't know about all cases, but at least where I live, that's one of the things they asked me a couple weeks ago now. So I just say, yeah, just leave it on the front steps, ring the doorbell, and I've got a security camera to record it, so it's all right.
Those delivery drivers have it hard enough. Um, I think I asked one of them one time, and he said he does 100 to 150 deliveries a day. And I thought, well, if he's dealing with a minimum of that many people a day, and during this situation, that's just adds so much extra exposure. So if they can, get some kind of benefit, and it's up to us as well to accept those kind of things. We don't necessarily have to sign it. I'd rather not sign it. I would rather have that option to do that. So it works well for everyone, and it's good to see that people are sort of working in with the delivery companies, and the delivery companies are taking those kind of initiatives to look after their staff, and it actually helps them as well. They don't have to wait around for someone to sign, so it works well for everyone.
Yeah, it speeds up the process. And what are they delivering? Webcams and headsets. They're sold out.
Yeah, so I've been looking around online and talking to a number of different people, and the people are all doing sort of teleworking now. Companies have instigated, and yeah, and people are one of this.
Work from home,
Yeah,
right? Isn't that?
work from
Yeah,
home. So one of the, Japan is notoriously against working from home.
right.
Companies refuse to do it. They're very stuck in their old ways with people
How
having.
about your company?
Yeah, no.
No comment.
Yeah, yes. Well, no, we're working from home, so that's fine.
Without naming names.
Yeah, we're working from home, so that's fine. But yeah, so I thankfully I have all the equipment here to do meetings and that sort of thing. But a lot of people don't have that. They haven't been prepared for that kind of thing, and so webcams and microphones and headsets and stuff. People need them for these meetings, and they can't actually get them because they're sold out. And the other thing is, a lot of those products come from China, and there's no exports coming out of China at the moment.
Right,
The
right.
borders are closed, so that's one sort
And
of.
and by the way, from tomorrow,
Yeah.
they're no longer shipping to the United States as well.
Well, that's another big topic. So anyone in the exporting business here knows about the issues that have had during this COVID-19 situation. They've gradually countries have closed their borders. Then also the number of flights have well, there's basically no passenger flights between a lot of countries now. Japan and a lot of countries, I should say, and so usually the post would go in those packages, EMS and that kind of thing would go in those passenger flights, cargo base. The airlines would sell that extra space to make some more money, and
Right.
the post would go in there, and so because those flights, the number of flights have dropped. It's down to less than 10%. The more,
So it's actually down to 5 flights.
yeah. So I mean, that leaves no capacity for any post at the moment, and so a lot of Japan Posters just can't ship things out. So they've ended up sending stuff back to the senders. Um, yeah, and just stopped accepting packages to a lot of countries, and that you could still send to a number of countries. Then Australia sort of dropped off, and as of tomorrow now, it's the US has also dropped off, so no more EMS and that. There is, you can send stuff by boat. That's still been consistent to most countries, as that hasn't really been affected by the corona situation. But yeah, I mean,
Well, I think by the time your sea freight arrives in the other country, the coronavirus will have long passed, right?
well, either that or there'll be no one left to pick it up on the other end. so,
That's very dark.
so yeah, so yes, if you're waiting for packages from Japan, wherever you may be, yes, it's yeah, that's the situation here, and so you might have heard from the company you're dealing with that, hey, we can't send you a package, and that's the reason why. So maybe that's helped you in your sort of understand it a bit more. So, Mike, the state of emergency has been declared in your prefecture. Have you noticed any other sort of changes besides the
Yeah.
shops and that sort of thing?
Um, no.
Oh, really?
Like I said, in my part of Shiga, which is the north side of the lake, it's the quieter side, not Kusatsu or downtown in Oats. But no, I mean everything is as usual. Everything's open except pachinko stores around here are also open.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a reason why they're not closing. It's because the government can't force them to close,
Right.
and so I mean, I personally wish that the government could force them to close,
But we're
and
talking about changing the constitution for that to happen.
well, that's the thing, and that is a huge thing to be able to do. But I'm sure there's some other way they could do it. Is there take away their business license
No,
or
no, because then you're infringing on rights. You know.
yeah? And I mean, I I know, and rights are obviously very important here, and some things have really good rights, and some things don't. But at the end of the day, if what if this was even worse, where it was even more contagious? How could the government stop these places from opening? And personally, I'd like to see that. And do you think with it? I mean, do you think there's anything that they can do without changing the constitution? Like, as I said, like maybe change the business licenses or
Yeah. Well, look, given how slow the government has been in reacting to this situation so far, I really doubt they're going to force people, especially small businesses and mom and pop stores, to close. That is their voting block, you know? So if you tell your voting block to close and you're going to throw them pennies worth of support, I mean, these people are not going to vote you in next election next year. There's an election next October, next year, 2021. And the way it's going, Abe is going to be voted out of office in a landslide. It's going to be crushing. And the only way he can save himself and his party is by letting people do what they have to do to make money. That's like the real situation. And I think that's why they're very hesitant on closing things like they've done in Italy, the United States, Canada, and most other parts of the world.
Yeah, it's difficult because in times like this, I mean, should they even be thinking about re-election? I know that they want to, and as politicians, they that's their jobs. But
Well, that's their job. Like you said,
yeah,
that is
and they
their
should be
job.
putting the
You know,
people above the people's health and safety,
you're right.
above getting voted,
Hmm.
above the elections. But unfortunately, it seems to be the case where they're not. And so one of the other things that's changed since the last podcast. So I think we talked about it last time that they were going to give families 300,000 yen,
That
and
was the
but
original plan, right?
that
Yeah.
was the original plan. So can you sort of let me know exactly what? I think there's some sort of payment per person. Do you know much about that or?
Yes, yes. So the government was criticized heavily for its original idea of giving 300,000 yen to needy families. And that's 300,000 per household, not per person, per household. So they they were approached by the new Komeito party. They were basically told to change their position. And they did. They backed down on that original plan of offering 300,000 per household. What's happened now is they've changed it to 100,000 per person regardless of income. The only stipulation is that you be registered as a resident in your city. So as long as you have what's called a gaijin card, a foreigner's registration card, a juminsho, you can get that money. Now, they're gonna be sending out applications.
That's for the foreign residents, is that correct?
That's for all residents, foreign and domestic.
But that requirement of the foreigner card
Yeah.
is yeah, that's only Japanese. Obviously, don't need that.
Well, Japanese have the equivalent,
Yeah,
Japanese residence registration.
yeah.
But yes, as long as you have your gaijin card and you are registered as a citizen in your city, then you will be receiving, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, an application to fill out and to return to your local city hall or ward office to receive the money. I think what they're going to do is they're going to basically ask you or confirm to you how many people are in your household. If they're not this correct number, you'll have to add that person's name, and you'll have to add their. If you're a foreigner, you have to add the foreigner's number, that their gaijin toroku bango, and you'll have to add. You write down your bank details, and they will be sending you the money. I hopefully that the plan right now is by the end of May.
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty good thing. Now, one per person, does that sort of is that per person? Can that be like a newborn baby?
Yes, that's 100,000 yen per registered citizen, and so that's not the only um, aid we're getting. Another one is for families with children. So what you can do is you can get a child support payment for each child up to the end of junior high school. So what the government is doing now is they're going to add 10,000 yen per child per month starting in June. So I think everyone's next payment is going to be coming in June. You'll be getting an extra 10,000 yen per kid.
Is that worth it for having the kids stuck at home with them for the last few weeks or so?
God.
It's almost like a ransom fee sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, for everyone that sends their child to daycare or school, most of the kids in nursery school, at least, they get their lunches made for them, so you don't have to send your kid to school with a lunchbox. If you have to make it every day, that's 30 days, or no, 20 days roughly, where you have to make lunch. So that $10,000 just, or 10,000 yen, sorry, it just disappears
Well,
quickly.
that's about $100 so per child. That doesn't go very far.
No, it doesn't. No.
And you said up to junior high, so I mean that kid could be up to 11. Is that about 10 or 11?
14. Sorry, the end of junior
Oh,
high.
the end of
So
junior high. So
about
I
14.
mean, you can imagine how much food a 14-year-old is. They could do that in a week.
Right.
A growing boy. So, yeah, I mean,
Look,
it does help. Yeah, it definitely does help. It's better than nothing. But your family's probably going to get what's that? So you extra 20,000 yen a month, so an extra $200 a month, and then
right.
a one-time payment of about 400,000 yen. So that's roughly $4,000. So
Roughly, yes.
yes. So
Now,
does that?
fingers crossed,
Yeah.
things end after about a month. But what happens if they continue? And that's the fear.
Yeah, I mean, how many times can they do that payment? Because that's a lot of money, and
Hmm.
honestly, that money doesn't go that far with people because if you've got rent to pay and you're out of work, because a lot of people are out of work at the moment.
That's right.
uh,
That's why I'm doing this podcast.
you should probably try something else if you want to make some money, but or at least get a better co-host. Uh,
Well, I've got the time now, so I'll be looking.
but yeah, it's if you're out of work and you've got a family to feed, and because a lot of the night places are closed, and that sort of thing, and I think cinemas might be closed. So especially here in Osaka, these people, they don't have work at the moment. So
Hmm.
they've got to pay rent, and suddenly that if you're living by yourself and you get $1,000, I mean your rent could be 500, 600, 700, $800 a month by yourself, and that doesn't leave much left over, and it's already been a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, and a lot of people on those lower incomes tend not to have savings. So I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, this could be sort of a pretty interesting situation.
And one more thing that they're doing now is your local gas and electric and water bills. What they're going to do is they're going to allow you to push those bill payments down the road. I think up to 3 months. So if you can contact the city, which is where I think you pay your water bills, or if you contact your local electric or gas companies, they are allowing payments to be made 1 to 2 months or 3 months late. You'll have to contact them directly and ask for that forgiveness, but that is another option that's available to you. I think as well as your cell phone and internet providers are also accepting that kind of that delay. They call it encho yoteari. So As long as um, you contact them ahead of time and you don't miss your payment, I think they are forgiving that as well.
Well, that's a good system. Hopefully, the people then have work down the track to be able to pay. So, I mean, everyone knows, everyone's in this together. And so it's good to see that the government's doing something better than nothing. And those companies are doing that. So, all right, let's wrap up that Corona situation, as I'm sure everyone's heard enough now. So, what we wanted to talk about today is so for all those stuck at home, quarantined, we wanted to give you 5 things to do while you're still quarantined at home and you're bored and you sort of really want to get outside and you're wondering what you can do with your time these days. Okay, so Mike, how about you give
Yeah.
us number one?
Number one, study Japanese.
Well,
Now is as good a time as ever.
yes, and because Japanese is a great fun language. People get scared by it, with the kanji and that sort of thing. But hey, I mean, we've done okay, and yeah, you can come to Japan when if you're not in Japan now, you can come to Japan when this is all over, and you can use your new Japanese. Or alternatively, what you can do is number two is you can watch Japanese movies. So Netflix has a pretty good selection of them. You can watch them with English subtitles, and you can maybe see if you can pick up some of the words that you've learned while you were studying Japanese.
Andy, hot tip: learning Japanese. Best way to learn Japanese is by watching Japanese manzai comedians.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how I learned.
But I thought
Which is,
well,
look,
wouldn't
the
that?
comedy doesn't rub off though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't that make you actually funny though? Okay, so number three. Um, so while you've got all this time at home, and the supermarkets are open and that, how about you just try and cook something new? Have you ever, have you thought, I want to try and cook a nice lasagna, or
Hey, I thought we were doing a Japanese program. Aren't we supposed to be practicing sukiyaki?
well, you can try your sukiyaki recipe too. Anything you want to try to make, just try it out now because you've probably got the time. And hey, it can't hurt, can it? Just maybe don't go too calorie heavy if you're sitting at home all day.
What have you tried cooking since you've been locked down?
So me, not a lot actually, because I've still been working. But yes, my wife has been trying a lot of really delicious dishes. But yes, when I get some time, so coming up in this Golden Week, I plan on. I want to try a vegetarian lasagna recipe, and I love sort of Italian food, so I also want to try and make ravioli. So, is there anything that you would like to try and cook?
Well, I want to try making a chicken parma.
Oh, yes, and you even called it Parma, so that's the correct pronunciation.
That's right.
You can have 5 gold stars for that. And I saw recently that you tried making some delicious steak. Is that right?
Oh, well, I'm cooking steak every week. Yeah.
Oh,
Um, look, there's a great shop. We're not getting paid for this endorsement, but
yet, yeah.
the meat guy, go check it out. themeatguy.jp. Again, we're not
Just
being paid
Google the
for it.
meat guy Japan.
Google it. The
Yeah.
meat guy. They sell the best filet mignon ever.
Yeah, I've never actually ordered from there, but I've heard only good things. So and
Well, don't, because they're going to be endorsing us soon
well,
enough.
hopefully with this positive
The
reviews,
meat guy.
I would gladly take free meat for this podcast. Okay, Mike. So why don't you give us the next one?
Number four, video chat with friends and family. But look, video chat or audio, you need to be talking to people,
Yeah.
socializing. Since we can't do it outside, we need to be doing it online.
Yeah, and so if you've got friends and family that are quarantined by themselves, reach out to them because they might be lonely and not by themselves. So yeah, just reach out and say hello, how you going,
Yep.
and
Yep.
just and make this time to communicate. Most people in their daily lives before the quarantine, they're so busy they just maybe post on the Facebook wall or something, or don't spend the time, or they maybe send a message every now and then. But you have a chat and see what people are up to because I'm sure if you reach out, I'm sure that most people will appreciate it.
Right. But don't video chat other people's moms. By the way, Andy, your mom says hi.
Oh, oh, I'm sure she said hi and then like an hour on the phone and you couldn't get off. So, okay. So, and the last one is, get outside and go for a walk. So, depending on the local rules wherever you are, most of them include allowing exercise. You to go out for exercise at least once a day. Here in Japan, it's not as strict.
Isn't this a bit of a hypocrisy, though? We're telling people to go outside when they're quarantined at home.
But hang on a minute. So while you maintain social distancing, wear a mask if you have it,
Mm.
and just if you got a park or something nearby, I make sure I go out every day for a 30-minute to an hour walk and just clear my head and get my get my body moving, and if you it helps you sleep better at night.
You live in an area where there's actually greenery, but for most people, they're surrounded by concrete jungle.
But you can still go for a walk, and even if it's just 15 minutes or something like, get your body moving, and do as best as you can to practice social distancing, and it will do a lot for you. If you don't stop and sit down in a cafe or do something like that, then you'll be fine. As long as you sort of keep away from people and just keep walking, and your body will see a lot of benefits, because you don't. The last thing you want to do is, after we get out of this quarantine and you realize you've put on a few pounds, and you sort of think, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that.
It's all the chicken parma.
Hey, and the lasagna. But yes, so that's our sort of 5 things to do while you quarantine at home. So if you've got some tips of what you've done, something interesting while quarantined at home, by all means, let us know. Check us out on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/AMJapan. That's all one word, AMJapan. And you can. And if you've got any questions about this current situation here in Japan, or just general life in Japan questions, because we've obviously talked about the coronavirus enough. You can post them on our Facebook page, and we'll put them in a future episode.
Awesome.
So thank you for listening to AM Japan, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Talk to you later.
See ya.